Uh, my plan today is to do a lecture on crisis management. And I want to start by saying that the key to crisis management is an accurate and timely management of the criticality of the problems and the dynamics of the events that ensue. We must accurately and timely manage, anticipate the crisis, and manage its criticality, as well as the dynamics of the event that ensue. So, to be successful in any crisis, it takes preparation, it takes effective leadership. And being prepared means two things. It means that one, there must be a constant state of readiness because we don't know the exact time a crisis will hit. Because crisis takes many forms. So we must be in a constant state of readiness because we do not know when the crisis will hit. And then we must have a wide range of contingencies that are disposed of for the many possibilities that can happen. And this is important because in any crisis situation, we can identify three types of emergencies. The first is what we call routine emergencies. And the second is crisis emergencies. And the third is emergent crisis. What exactly is a routine emergency? A routine emergency or a routine emergencies have some predictability that permits advanced preparation. So we can predict these events. We can predict that they are going to occur. We can anticipate them. And that helps us to prepare. That helps us to put in place some mechanisms for effective response. Or that helps us to plan or coordinate effective responses to this emergency. So a routine emergency is one that can be handled on a daily basis. For example, police receive 911 calls. The fire service respond to receive calls that respond to emergencies. And we have the paramedics respond to emergencies. In North America, when you place a 911 call, that call goes to the police, it goes to the fire service, the fire department, and it goes to the paramedics, to the hospital. So when the police takes the 911 call, they want to find out what the problem is. If it's a crime, then the police will respond. If it's a fire problem, the fire service will respond. If it's a medical emergency, the medical team, the paramedics team will arrive. So these are called routine emergencies. These types of emergencies are small and localized in nature, so they do not have any significant impact on the health and well-being of citizens outside of the confined area of the emergency. Unlike maybe an earthquake that will strike in one location depending on the magnitude, and we have phenomenal impact across a large area or geographic area. So if an earthquake strikes in one community, it can reverberate across neighboring communities and have those effects instantaneously. But routine emergencies are not like that. They do not have such effects. They are confined to that particular area where they occur. And events that could be described as routine emergencies can also include maybe robbery, maybe armed robbery, storm, blockage. I mean, just little little events, or maybe someone is sick and they need medical attention or hazardous spill somewhere. So these are routine emergencies that we can easily respond to. When there is a spill in a company, the emergency unit can easily respond to that spill. These are routine emergencies. When there is a robbery case and somebody calls 911, the police can easily respond to that robbery case. When someone is in dire need of emergency care and places a 911 call, the paramedics guys can respond and attend to their needs. So these are all routine situations. But there is another type of emergency called crisis emergency. What is a crisis emergency? It is different from routine emergency, and its novelty around these incidents makes it much more difficult to respond to and even deal with. So generally, crisis emergencies have some basic characteristics. One of the characteristics is that the threat has never been encountered before. So it's something that is new. It's novel. We've never, people who experience crisis emergencies have not had that experience before. It's something that is new. Maybe a community has been in existence for decades, for centuries, and has never experienced a hurricane that will wipe away homes, or has never experienced a flood. And then suddenly, after many centuries or decades, people have never experienced such a natural disaster have never experienced a natural disaster of such proportion. Then suddenly a wildfire occurs from nowhere. Maybe someone sets a fire on the bush and the whole village is burning. Or the flood from somewhere, the whole village are submerged, or a hurricane, buildings are falling. So this is what makes them novel. These are threats that have never been experienced before. So they are crisis emergencies. But however, they might be familiar events, that occur at unprecedented speed. Therefore, developing an appropriate response to them is very, very challenging. Very, very challenging. And they might also be a confluence of forces that combine to pose this unique challenge and the difficulty to respond to these kinds of events. So these are crisis emergencies, and they always occur in the form of typhoons, cyclones, devastating hurricanes, earthquakes. Probably the country of Haiti had been in existence for centuries and had never experienced an earthquake. But one day in 2010, an earthquake of 7.0 magnitude struck and devastated the entire capital city of Port-au-Prince and the neighboring communities. So that is a crisis emergency because it has never been experienced. So nobody anticipated it. Nobody knew it was going to happen. It just happened. So the impact was extreme and phenomenal. So the next is what is called emergent crisis. Emergent crises pose special challenges in terms of recognition because they look much like routine emergencies in their early stages. Only later do they reveal their unusual characteristics. For example, when COVID-19 started, a lot of governments downplayed it. Even the United States downplayed it, never took it serious. President Trump denied the science, he thought it was a hoax, started blaming China and all of that. But until people started dying in great numbers, in the thousands, in the hundreds a day. And now we have millions of people who have been affected by that disease. Millions have lost their jobs. until we began to see the phenomenal impact of COVID-19. Initially, it was downplayed, just like in many African countries where the governments downplayed the impact of COVID-19 until it started having a phenomenal impact on their population. People are dying. And there are other diseases. Maybe it could be a bug. It could be a bug that eventually becomes a plague. But when it was a bug, maybe the bug bite somebody and nobody took it seriously until it becomes a contagion. It has a contagious effect. Or a virus that started small and was ignored until it engulfs the entire society. It starts biting other people or transmitting diseases, and people come in contact with others, especially when the disease or the virus is airborne. It begins to spread like wildfire. But initially, it was ignored because the signs were not too visible that people could take them seriously until it becomes a huge problem. So these are emergent crises. So in my next lecture, I want to talk about essential skills that are needed by crisis managers to identify these threats, respond to these threats, plan for these threats, and provide effective management to either an emergent crisis or a routine emergency, or even a crisis emergency. Understanding the different types of crisis of emergencies will help us to know how to address them, how to respond to them. Because if you respond to a crisis emergency the same way you will respond to a routine emergency, it's going to be catastrophic. Going to be failure. And this is why a lot of governments are struggling across the world, because they are probably responding to COVID the same way they will be responding to a crisis emergency, or they'll be responding to a routine emergency. Many do not have the contingency plan to respond to even a routine emergency, much less an emergent crisis. So understanding these terminologies, these concepts, is very important. It will help us to anticipate these threats and explore or design effective responses to them. So this is where I want to stop today, and I'll continue again in our next